was she enough? Frani Fox and her husband were planting a church in a brand new state. They had moved from Southern California to Texas with two young boys, and Franny felt like people were watching her every move. A whispering voice tried to tell her that she wasn't enough, not strong enough, not generous enough, not good enough to be a mom and a pastor's wife. She knew this whisper was a lie, but it was hard to believe the truth. In this episode of Franny Fox's story, her closest friend betrays her, yet she chooses to speak truth from the darkest night of her soul. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm Kelly Archibald, and I'd like to welcome you to Qavah the podcast, your source of inspiration, empowerment, and profound insights into the art of Qavah. Now you might be wondering, what is Qavah? It hails from Hebrew, and it embodies the concept of waiting with eager anticipation and hopeful expectancy. In a world that constantly seems to rush us, Qavah the podcast invites you to pause, to embrace the beauty of anticipation, and to explore the profound wisdom found in waiting. The accounts shared on this podcast, including this episode, reflect the guests' thoughtful recollections and opinions of experiences perceived and occurring over many years, including childhood memories which may be fallible and limited by perspective and trauma. Persons may have different memories regarding certain events.
I've never experienced grief like that, where the loss of the person that I loved since I was a kid is gone.
Before Franny experienced her greatest disappointment, she used her creative energy to become an author. So you became an author and you were published. So tell me about that.
Well, I've always loved the scripture that said that the Lord is my song. And years ago, I crossed that word out and put book. The Lord is my book. And just meaning that the expression of the Lord, I just, there's things about him that I want to express.
Right.
And I love simplicity. And so our youngest son, he came to me and said, Mom, we did a poem at school. It's called Rabbits in the Ghetto. And I thought that was super funny. So that became the title of my book. And it's a little twist on the troubles of life versus God's promises. And it is a book on God's promises. And it's an encouraging book to be light in darkness, to sing when no one else is.
Wow.
To shine when other lights shine brighter.
Wow.
It's just that book of encouragement to do everything that God's given you and not hold back.
Wow.
And then God has some other plans.
Yeah.
I've done another one, and we'll see what happens with that. And then hopefully in the future, I'll be able to express more wonderful things about God in simple terms. And I think there's a lot of words in the world, and I don't know if there needs to be that many words in the world.
Right. Franny learned how cheap words were when she uncovered a web of lies spun by her husband, the pastor. In a time that nearly broke her, it was harder than ever to hold on to the truth. So, your ministry continues, and in life, and church continues. It looks a little different today. And do you want to share anything about that?
Well, I've come upon the biggest challenge of my life. And in the big challenges, there's a lot of opportunity to make choices. And this is a painful thing to share, but while my husband and I have been married 33 years, he's chosen to go out and to choose another. And in that decision, it created a lot of opportunity for me to reflect on what I believe about God. Just like I said, the Lord is my shepherd. I have all that I need. as this time in my life has been approaching, God has been putting things into my life to pave the way for care and for provision. I'm not alone. The Lord is truly close to the brokenhearted, and he cares for us in our deepest sorrow. And I will say a lot of people talk bad about the church these days because of pastors and musicians and all the people in church that do moral failure, or they're hypocritical, or they're unkind. And those are truths of the human condition. But what I've noticed in this, and in my great disappointment, is that God has used the church, the people of the church, to care for me, to minister to me, to encourage me. In the beginning of this very personal and deep trial, our oldest son wrote me a letter, and he said, "Mom, storm the hill, you can do this." And that always makes me cry, because I know the courage that he's telling me to draw from is from the Lord.
Franny and her 2 sons were at a loss. Their father, who had been trusted by his family and an entire church, was not who he had pretended to be. Their only option was to look to Jesus, who was a never changing source of truth.
Our younger son, in my sorrow, has said, "Mom, the Lord is your shepherd. You have all that you need." And God has put an army of women around me that have nurtured me and shown the depth of the Lord's love to me. And he uses everyone in a different capacity. There's the practical friend, the deeply emotional friend, the caregiver friend, and all these women. And I think, gosh, women, they're such a blessing from the Lord, especially women that have raised children, that have had their own sorrow.
Right.
They carry weight that is so profound. I know people feel when they reach a certain age in womanhood that they're less significant, they're unseen. And I think, oh, you're missing it.
Right.
The older woman is the powerhouse. She carries the emotions of all the brokenness in this world, and there's a lot of brokenness in this world. I don't. This situation in my life is fresh, and God is providing new things for me.
I watched Franny pick up her sword and fight when it seemed impossible. She took shelter in my home as divorce papers were being signed and accusation after accusation was thrown at her. She held her head high because she was done believing lies.
And being with one person since I'm 15, was 15 years old, it requires a lot of trust in the Lord.
Yeah.
And about 3 years ago, I started asking the Lord, grow my faith, grow my faith, grow my faith, because without faith, it's impossible to please God.
Right.
All the church doing, all the stuff we do, it doesn't please God, but what pleases God is faith. So I kept asking God to grow my faith. Now, I'm not saying I wanted this ever in my life, but at this time, I am truly understanding, finally, for the first time, faith, surrender, letting go. I have no power. I'm powerless, which is the first step of the 12 steps. I'm powerless in this situation. And in powerlessness, I'm powerful. And then in powerlessness, I trust God. And then in trusting God, I believe that he's going to give me hope for the future. And every day is a decision to do that again. And what I love about these Christian women in my life, they have seen me really a mess, a big mess, and they don't give up. And when other people believe for you, you believe.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, you're amazing.
Well,
You've taught us a lot.
Thank you, Kelly.
It doesn't make a lot of sense unless you experience it. When we are powerless, we are actually powerful? How does that work? God poured his strength into Franny in a way she couldn't deny.
I do want to say that every person that's exercised faith in caring for me, it's going to grow their faith. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just a big step. It's like a big snowball. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger, just like the negative gets bigger and bigger.
Right.
The positive also gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And the Bible says to overcome evil with good.
Right.
And so the love that I've received from the body of Christ has overcome the evil and deceit that it's been around me.
Right.
And now my choice is to focus on what God's given me, not what I've lost.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to keep serving the Lord in my life. It'll look completely different than what I've done. And I'm going to trust him with that.
That really is what church is. And I think we get confused as Americans thinking that it's all, getting dressed up and going to sing and, shaking hands and all of that. But it's really meeting people's needs.
And it's really the Lord using people to meet your needs, because there is no way that they could know the needs that I had, specifically you, Kelly, and your family, like taking me into your home and loving me in the midst of my biggest, deepest grief. I have a counselor who's that someone in the church provided for me. I mean, everything I have to grow has been a provision, everything.
Right.
Nothing have I obtained on my own, like grabbing and pulling. It's a miracle. Everything's been a miracle. Because I think the more you learn about him, the more you learn about yourself. And the more you learn about yourself, the more you realize that he's the only thing that'll give you what you really need.
Yeah.
Which is something that we as women struggle with our husbands and kids and careers and body image and beauty and our significance, I guess.
Frani had stumbled into this web of lies just as the virus was taking over our world. Since then, she's moved back to beautiful California, her home. I flew out to see my dear friend on an unusual rainy day, and we reflected on all that this year had brought. Okay, so the last time you and I visited was about a year ago, and you had just had your great disappointment. And so what happened after that?
We were talking, and I was staying with some friends, and I had come out to California just to visit my mom, and the Lord did some amazing things. I walked into a dialysis clinic, and it really wasn't even the dialysis clinic. It was this office that wasn't open to the public, and I just said I need a job. And they said, sit down, and I got a job that was capable of paying me enough to move. And I was not divorced yet, but things were not going to change. And so I decided that I was going to move out there and pursue that job.
So when you got the news about your great disappointment and all of that started to play out, and we all started helping you pick up the pieces, what were some of the significant things that you experienced during that time where you saw God move in your life in ways that you did not expect?
What I saw during that time was in my utter despair, where I had nothing. God used his people around me so significantly and so individually. Like, each person played a role that was so profound. I could never have made it without God putting each person into my life. And I could go through the list. I do want to say that my sons were so strong in that time, and their girlfriends. They literally would sleep with me, put their arms around me, and each son in his own strength ministered to me in ways that I am still shocked by and still love to talk about. My oldest son, Isaac, he sent me a note, and it said, where does my strength come from? My strength comes from you. You know the verse. And then he said, storm the hill, Mom, you can do this. And he was putting that fire in me to move. and to move on. Mm-hmm. And then my youngest son, Sam, one night, he was hugging me and I was crying. He said, Mom, what are you afraid of? And I said, I'm afraid of division. I'm afraid of more division. And I'm afraid of us being divided. And he said, Mom, the Lord is my shepherd. I have all that I need, which is my favorite verse.
Yes.
And he said, that'll never happen. Mm-hmm. And so in his softer way, he instilled that strength and also spoke to me in something that was really powerful, mm-hmm. that I believed deeply. And then I had so many friends, and each one so individual. Like God did not miss a beat in leading me. Mm-hmm. And I was staying with you and Richard, and you kept saying to me, you're going to have a wonderful life. You're going to have a wonderful life. Almost to the point that I had no choice but to believe it. And that motivated me to act out on that. And there were so many things that you and I did together. You helped me in my banking, and in crazy ways, and helped me get my nursing license, helped me know how to do things on the computer. When I would be crying at the bank, you would take over and help me make up a password when I couldn't think.
Oh my God.
It was so practical and yet so loving. And my friend Denny and Joanne, they just supplied me so much with health and nourishment. And Laura, she just kept giving me everything I needed. And my friend Hannah just would speak such strong truth and wisdom into me. And my friend Emily gave me all the Region books. And I mean, I can't even, like, I know I'm going to leave people out. Of course, Jen and Asa gave me a home to live in and let my kids come with their girlfriends and do their dog and like live there. And I can't, I'm so scared that I'm going to leave out a significant person that God used. God used my friend Lisa McMurray to fly all the way to Texas and drive to California with me. Just turn around and drive right back. Like, and I was willing to drive alone, but God knew I couldn't.
Right.
So he provided it.
Right.
And then when I got here, my friend Wendy, they found me this beautiful place where I rented for, I don't know how long, maybe 2 months. And it was like overlooking this gorgeous hill. And when I pulled up, it was the pandemic. So a lot of people wouldn't talk to me or see me. And there was a box right by the gate, and it had blankets and coffee and coffee maker and a bottle of wine and all this stuff that she was putting in there for me. And the people that owned the place, they didn't know me, but they knew I needed something. It just was like that all the way. When I got here, God provided a job for me that was big and well-paying, and it made it so that I could buy a condo. And my trainer in the job, she said some significant words to me. She said, when I would cry at work, she'd say, go in the bathroom, stop crying, because we had a job to do. And then she said, you don't need to worry about it. When you take something you didn't earn, you won't appreciate it when you have it. So you don't need to worry about what happened to you. And I said, okay. And then I just kept going. And then when I bought this condo, it was like the perfect condo that I prayed for. And you and I and Laura, we had a vision board for, you said, Frani, create a vision board for the future. And I said, condo, cats, fern, and we made a song. And this condo is more than that vision board. And Laura gave me a couch, and it fits perfectly in the condo. And my kids, I wanted a Christmas tree for my kids because I knew our family wouldn't be the same for Christmas, and it was going to be painful. And so that was on my vision board, to get a Christmas tree. I was just like, I got to get a Christmas tree. And we had the best Christmas. We celebrated each other. We wrote letters to each other. And we hiked, which we love. And it was, God did that. And what else did he do? Oh, when I bought the condo, the escrow lady, I had to read on my escrow papers. It said, Frani Fox, a single woman. And I just started crying in the escrow office, and she started crying. And she said, you can do this. And God never stopped telling me I could do it. And my niece and nephew, Andy and Kayla, I didn't have a washing machine, and they would let me come and use the washing machine and hug me. And I just can't tell you how many amazing people, even people that I didn't know, people that I've met since, my neighbors in my condo complex, they've said such tremendous words to me. One neighbor said, "Be careful what you fill yourself with in your emptiness. Emptiness is a requirement to knowing your purpose." And that just helped me so much, because in such terrible despair, you want to fill that emptiness with things you shouldn't.
So what would you like to say next? Do you want to talk about what God has taught you, what he's done through you?
I think one of the things that God had been preparing me long before I even knew any of this was that he started giving me practice for the Lord as my shepherd. I have all that I need. I started to practice that, and about 2 years before all this news came out, I had started praying and asking the Lord to grow my faith, because I know that without faith it's impossible to please God, and he who comes to God must believe that he is, and he's a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. So I knew that I had become good at just doing what needed to be done and not really experiencing faith, because things were in some order in my life. And when things went out of order, I think it was such a time that God was going to grow my faith. And the grief has been intense. Like, I've never experienced grief like that, where the loss of the person that I loved since I was a kid is gone, and by choice. And so that's a lot of grief, yet it's given me a lot of opportunity to trust the things that God already put in there. And so when I say that the Lord is my shepherd, I have all that I need, I can't believe it. Like, he keeps giving me everything I need. If I need something, it's there. And it's been there with all the people, and it's been there practically with my job and my jobs, because I have another job now, which I am so excited about. He really is giving me the desires of my heart, and I'm actually witnessing it. It's not like something that I'm speaking about. It's actually a fact in my life. And I've always wanted to be a hospice nurse, and now I get to be a hospice nurse with this great team, and I've had some really great spiritual experiences